Hello everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how to make the Velleman classic TV tennis game with analog bats. The contents of this kit are the large printed circuit board, the 2 analog bat printed circuit boards, the instructions manual, resistors, ceramic capacitors and diodes, feet for this circuit board, lead, and lots of various other components. First up are the resistors. The red resistors, these 4 here, go in R1 to R4 on the board. R1 being there and R4 there. Then the blue, grey, brown resistors, these 2 here, go in R5 and R9 on the board. Then there's the brown, black, red resistors, these 3 here, which go in R6 to R8 on the board. R6 being just there, and R8 just there. And the last resistor for this board is the brown, green, brown resistor, this one here, which goes in R10 on the board. Up next is the 100 NF ceramic capacitor, this one here. You can tell it is this ceramic capacitor as it has 104 written on the capacitor. This goes in C5 on the board. C5 being just... where is it? There. Up next is the diode. This diode here goes in D1 on the board, just there, making sure that the brown stripe, the grey stripe, closest to us, matches up with the white stripe on the board. The next component is the push button, and this goes in SW1 on the board, just there. Now the miniature red LED. This miniature red LED goes in LED 1 on the board, making sure that the longer leg, the one on the right, goes through the top hole of the circle. Then we have the IC socket. This IC socket goes on IC1 on the board, making sure that the semicircle at the top matches up with the one on the board. Now we have the ceramic capacitors. These 2 ceramic capacitors go in C1 to C2 on the board because they have 22 written on them. C1 being just there and C2 there. And then these 2 ceramic capacitors go in C3 to C4 because they have 103 written on them. And C3 is there, and C4 is there. The next component is the trimmer. This goes in RV1 on the board, just there. Up next we have the video signal selector. This here, the video signal selector, can go in any of these 2 sections here under SK4. It can go in PAL, so it goes through those 2 holes, or NTSC, and depending on which one you put it in, it depends on which television frequency the kit is plugged into and the game is received on the television. Now we have the electrolytic capacitor. This electrolytic capacitor goes in C6 on the board. C6 being just there, making sure that the longer leg on the right goes through the positive hole. Now we have the two clinch connectors. These two clinch connectors go in audio out and video out. The next component is the crystal. This crystal goes in X1 on the board, just there. Now we have the battery holders. These 4 metal clips hold the 2 AA batteries. They go in like this, facing towards the battery. In there, 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 and there. Now we have the IC chip, which goes in the IC socket, making sure that the circle at the top of the chip matches up with the semicircle at the top of the socket, which matches up with the semicircle at the top of the board. Now we have the feet, which can be peeled off and stuck to the bottom corners of the circuit board to give it a supporting on the ground. Now we have 2 470 OHM resistors, which go in the 2 printed circuit board analog bats. They go in RB, which is just there and there. We now have 2 push buttons, which go in the solder side of the printed circuit board analog bats, here where that square shape is there and there. They go in like that. Once you have put the push button and resistors into the printed circuit board analog bats, next is the potometer plus knob. First, place the potometer through the printed circuit board, but making sure that the end, the metal end, comes out of the front of the board, not the solder side. You can do it the other way, but it just makes it easier while playing the game to do it this way. And then put the washer on, the nut on, and the knob, and twist it down, and then this will allow you to have a twirly-like button when you play the game. Once you have done that, it will look different than mine, because I've put mine the other way round. Yours should look like the button should be there, the resistor there, and this should be at the other side. Or you can have it this side if you want, doesn't really matter, it still works. Should look like that. Then once you've done that, you need to connect the large printed circuit board to the 2 analog bats. And in order to do this, you need to cut the large piece of black wire lead in half. Then you need to cut off a bit of the lead so it comes out with the red and white parts, and then you need to trim the lead from those red and white parts. So as you can see, there's the black part here, and then there's the white part and the red part, rubber inside that with lead inside that. And then you need to solder and tin those parts of the wire that are coming out of the red and white parts of rubber so that they can fit through the holes. And once you've done that, you then need to put the RG lead, which is the red rubber bit, through the RG and LG holes on the board, and the white one through the RS and LS. And first you need to put one of the pieces of black lead, because it chops in half, through that hole, and then you need to put one in there, and then the red one needs to go in there like that. So it should finish looking like this, and then you need to solder it into the board. You then need to connect this lead to the analog bats, and in order to do this, you need to connect the red lead, the red rubber bit, through the G, and the white bit through the S. And you can put them through these 2 holes here. You can feed the black lead through to each bits, and then put the rubber bits, the copper bits at the end of the red and white rubber bits through those holes there. Here you can see the G and S markings on the board just there, and on the S marking there, on the top, you can see that the white rubber part has gone through, and on the left the red rubber part has gone through.